Every people on this earth possesses a unique soul. This soul is expressed through its heritage. For the peoples of Europe, this heritage is a sacred trust. It is passed down through generations. It is not a commodity for global consumption. It is a deep spiritual connection to our ancestors and our soil. Our gods, our myths, our languages, and our traditions are reflections of who we are. They were born from our specific experiences on the European continent. They cannot be separated from the people they came from. This inheritance is ours and ours alone. It is a closed circle meant only for those who belong to it by birthright. The modern world pushes a false idea of universalism. It claims all cultures are open to everyone. This is a dangerous lie. It flattens the rich diversity of human experience into a bland, meaningless soup. True heritage is not universal. It is particular. It belongs to a specific folk. The stories of Dagobah and Perun, of Odin and Thor, are not fairy tales for the whole world to play with. They are the sacred narratives of European man. They explain our origins, our values, and our destiny. To treat them as public property is to misunderstand their very essence. They are the spiritual property of the European peoples. Consider the great epics, the sagas, and the folk tales. These were not written for a global audience, nor are they about foreign peoples. They were written for a specific tribe, a specific nation, a specific people. They carry within them the memory of our ancestors' struggles and triumphs. They speak a language of symbols and archetypes that resonates deeply within the European soul, but which remains opaque to outsiders. When others attempt to claim these stories, they are not honoring them. They are performing an act of intellectual colonization. They strip the stories of their context and their power, reducing them to mere entertainment. This is a profound disrespect to the memory of those who came before us. Therefore, we must state clearly and without apology: European heritage is exclusive. It is not for sale. It is not to be shared, borrowed, or adopted by those who do not share our blood and our history. It is a living stream that flows from the distant past into the future, and we are its current guardians. To defend this heritage is not an act of hate. It is an act of love. It is an affirmation of our identity and our right to exist as a distinct people. We must protect this sacred inheritance from those who would dilute it, distort it, or claim it as their own. It is our duty and our honor. A people is defined by three inseparable pillars: genetics, language, and culture. For Europeans, this triad forms a unique and coherent identity. Our genetic heritage connects us to the ancient inhabitants of this continent, from the hunter-gatherers to the Indo-European newcomers. This shared ancestry creates a biological foundation for our kinship. It is a tangible link to the past, written in our very cells. We recognize ourselves in the faces of our countrymen, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. This biological reality cannot be ignored or wished away. It is the first and most fundamental component of who we are as a people. Language is the second pillar of our identity. The great Indo-European language family, from which the majority of all European tongues descend, is a testament to our shared origin. Language groups like Slavic, Germanic, and Celtic are all branches of the same ancient tree. They carry our worldview, our philosophy, and our poetry. Each language is a unique lens through which we perceive reality. It shapes our thoughts and binds our communities together. To speak a European language is to inherit a specific way of understanding the world. It is a legacy of words and ideas that has been crafted over thousands of years. This linguistic bond is a powerful force for unity among our diverse nations. Culture is the third and final pillar. It is the outward expression of our inner spirit. Our art, our music, our laws, and our customs all flow from a distinct European sensibility. From the soaring cathedrals to the intricate folk art, our culture reflects a unique aesthetic and a particular set of values. It is a testament to our creativity, our discipline, and our search for beauty and truth. This culture was not created in a vacuum. It grew organically from our unique genetic and linguistic roots. It is the fruit of our collective soul, nurtured by the specific landscapes of Europe. It cannot be replicated or authentically practiced by those outside this tradition. These three elements, blood, language, and culture, are not separate items on a checklist. They are interwoven threads that create the single unified tapestry of European identity. You cannot pull one thread without unraveling the whole. To be European is not a matter of choice or personal preference. It is a matter of descent, of inheritance. It is about belonging to a great family of peoples united by a common history and a shared destiny. This distinctiveness is not a source of shame, but a source of strength. It is something to be understood, cherished, and defended against the forces of homogenization that threaten to erase it forever. To understand the exclusive nature of our ancestral traditions, we need only look to the past. The Great Temple at Uppsala in Sweden stands as a powerful example. This was not a public monument open to all humanity. It was a holy place for a specific people, the Swedes and other North Germanic tribes. According to the historian Adam of Bremen, this temple was the center of a vibrant and deeply tribal faith. Every 9 years, a great festival was held where sacrifices were made to the gods. These rites were not for outsiders. They were a solemn affair, binding the community to its deities and to each other through shared ritual and shared blood. The purpose of these ceremonies was to ensure the well-being of the tribe. They sought fertility for the land, victory in battle, and prosperity for the folk. The participants were not a random collection of individuals with a shared belief system. They were members of a kin group bound by oaths of loyalty and common ancestry. An outsider could not simply walk into Uppsala and join the worship. To do so would have been unthinkable. The gods of the tribe were the ancestors of the tribe, writ large. They protected their descendants and their descendants alone. The religion was an extension of the family and the clan. The details of the Uppsala rites reinforced their exclusionary character. The sacrifices involved men and animals, one from each species, offered to the gods in a sacred grove. This was a covenant between the folk and their divine patrons. It was a deeply serious and intimate affair. The idea that a stranger from a distant land, with different gods and different ancestors, could participate would have been absurd to our forefathers. Their faith was not a universal message of salvation for all mankind. It was a practical and spiritual framework for the survival and flourishing of their specific people. It was a heritage of the blood. This model of a tribal, folk-centered religion was not unique to Scandinavia. We see it across ancient Europe. The rites of the Romans, the Greeks, and the Celts were similarly tied to kinship and city-state. You could not become a Roman citizen simply by believing in Jupiter. You had to be born into it or accepted through specific formal legal processes that made you part of the collective. These ancient faiths demonstrate a fundamental truth. Our ancestral spirituality was never meant to be a global creed. It was, and remains, the exclusive spiritual path of the European peoples, rooted in our land, our lineage, and our collective soul. Ancient European religion was, at its heart, really tribal. Its core principles were kinship, oath, and ancestry. It wasn't a religion of abstract dogma or universal creeds that anyone could just pick up. Instead, it was the spiritual expression of a particular people's existence. The gods weren't these distant cosmic beings worrying about the fate of all humanity. No, they were the divine ancestors and protectors of the tribe. Thor, for example, didn't protect all people from chaos. He protected the Norsemen. Athena wasn't the goddess of wisdom for the world. She was the guardian of Athens. This connection between deity and people was direct, personal, and exclusive. The very foundation of this faith was the family and the clan. Loyalty wasn't to some set of written rules, but to one's kin and one's chieftain. Oaths, sworn on a sacred ring or a weapon, weren't just promises. They were holy bonds that tied a man's fate and honor to his community. Breaking an oath meant not only social ruin, but also divine wrath. This system, it created a powerful social cohesion. It made sure that individuals acted for the good of the group because, honestly, the group's survival was their own. Religion wasn't some separate thing from daily life or politics. It was the sacred glue holding the entire social structure together. This tribal character meant that inclusion was based on birthright, or in some cases adoption, not belief. One didn't just convert to the worship of the Germanic or Celtic gods. You were born into it. The rituals, festivals, and sacred stories were part of your inheritance, received from your parents and elders. They reinforced the bonds between the living, the dead, and those yet to be born. The veneration of ancestors was central, reminding each generation that they were part of a continuous chain of being. This focus on lineage really stands in stark contrast to modern, universalist religions that try to erase ethnic and familial distinctions in favor of a global brotherhood of believers. The exclusionary nature of this ancestral faith wasn't some flaw. It was actually its defining feature and its greatest strength. It made sure the culture, values, and genetic integrity of the tribe were preserved. It gave a clear sense of identity and belonging. In a world full of chaos and conflict, the tribe was a sanctuary, and its religion was the sacred fire that warmed its hearth. Understanding this history is crucial. It teaches us that our heritage was never meant to be a free-for-all. It was a treasure to be kept within the family, a sacred pact between a people and their gods, based on the unbreakable bonds of kinship. In our current age, we see a really disturbing trend. The sacred symbols and stories of Europe are being torn from their roots. They're used by people who have no connection to our heritage. This isn't appreciation, it's appropriation. It's a shallow and frankly disrespectful act that hollows out our traditions. When our gods are turned into comic book characters or our sacred runes are used as fashion accessories by strangers, their meaning is profaned. It's an act of cultural vandalism. It reduces thousands of years of spiritual depth into a cheap, consumable product for a global marketplace. It's honestly the spiritual equivalent of turning a temple into a shopping mall. This phenomenon is often presented as a positive development, a form of cultural sharing. But let's be clear, it's nothing of the sort. True sharing requires mutual respect and understanding, and that's just not present here. Instead, what we see is a one-way street. Non-European cultures are fiercely protected from appropriation, yet European heritage is treated as if it belongs to everyone. This double standard isn't an accident. It's part of a broader ideological project aimed at weakening European identity. By making our heritage seem universal, its unique connection to European peoples is severed. It becomes nobody's heritage, and so, it dies. Consider the misuse of our myths. Stories that once conveyed profound truths about our worldview are twisted to fit modern political agendas. They're stripped of their original context and filled with alien concepts. This isn't a new interpretation. It's a deliberate distortion. It's an attempt to rewrite our history and reprogram our collective memory. The heroes of our past are judged by ideologies they would never have understood. Our gods are reimagined to serve purposes that are, honestly, hostile to the interests of our people. This is a subtle but effective form of psychological warfare against the European soul. This appropriation is an attack on our identity. When anyone can claim to be a pagan, a Viking, or a follower of the old ways, these words lose their power. They no longer signify a connection to a specific people and a specific history. They become empty labels in a postmodern costume party. This is why we must draw a clear line. Our heritage isn't a buffet for outsiders to pick and choose what they find appealing. It's a complete and integrated system of blood, soil, and spirit. We must condemn this modern profanity and expose it for what it is, an attempt to erase us by absorbing and neutralizing our culture. The time has come to make a stand. We, the descendants of the peoples of Europe, have a right to our own heritage. This is a right that every people on Earth should have. We don't seek to take from others what is theirs. We ask only to keep what is ours. Our traditions aren't museum pieces to be admired by a detached global audience. They're a living force that must be practiced, preserved, and passed on to our children. This is a sacred duty. We are the guardians of a legacy that stretches back into the mists of time, and we must not fail in our task. This requires us to reject the false narrative of universalism. We have to have the courage to say that our heritage is not for everyone. It belongs to us. We must reclaim our symbols, our stories, and our sacred sites. We must cleanse them of the profane uses and distorted meanings that have been forced upon them. The runes are not a New Age curiosity. The gods are not fictional characters. They're expressions of our unique spiritual genius. This reclamation isn't about hating others. It's about loving ourselves and honoring our ancestors. It's an act of cultural and spiritual self-preservation. We must build communities of memory and practice. We must teach our young people the stories, the songs, and the values of their forefathers. We must instill in them a sense of pride and belonging. They need to know that they're part of something ancient, noble, and profound. This is the only way to ensure that our heritage survives the pressures of the modern world. It can't be preserved in books alone. It must live in the hearts and minds of our people. It has to be a fire that we tend together, a fire that warms our families and lights our way forward into the future. So let this be our solemn vow. We will guard our inheritance. We will defend it from appropriation. We will reclaim what has been taken and distorted. We will make sure that the legacy of Europe is not drowned in a sea of global mediocrity, but remains a distinct and powerful stream of human experience. This is our birthright, our duty, and our destiny. Our past is not over. It's a foundation upon which we must build our future. This heritage is ours, and ours alone, to hold and to keep, for now and for all time.